Well, welcome everybody. I'm Donna Paz Kaufman, and it's my privilege and pleasure to welcome you to Story and Song today for a very special conversation with Stan Cottle. And Mark and I have known Stan Cottle for years. And I remember there's a camera guy at the back of the room at the Chamber Music Festival and the Jazz Festival. And we met Deb Cottle, and you guys are pillars of the community. You really, really are. And it's a pleasure to have your art here today.
I have to say, I like being the guy in the back of the room.
Yeah.
Up here, not so much. But no, seriously, thank you all for being here, and I'm happy to be here.
I think it's fun because you grew up here.
Mm-hmm.
How many people grew up here? None
I'm
of
the
us.
only one.
None
Wait,
of
there's a native in the back. I recognize him.
Oh, one.
It's my brother, Randy.
Oh, Randy.
Look,
yeah.
dude, if I grew up here, you grew up here, okay?
Well, since not many of us have the memories for how many decades, I won't ask you to say how many decades, but a while. So as we were growing up and living in other places, what was it like growing up here in Fernandina?
In a word, wonderful. But when you're a kid and you're growing up in wonderful, you just think every place is nice like this. And I only learned by leaving that how wonderful it really is. And I have to say, when I was a kid growing up here, it was a different place, in terms of the number of people here, the number of things here to do and see. And I would have to say, I think growth has been a good thing for Fernandina. It makes it an even better place for the most part. So that's, so I'm still happy to live here, call it my home, and so forth.
So of the things that you would say, it's been good for, what's your list? For restaurants and...
Well, you mean... I just think it's gotten better in terms of the level. Let's take restaurants. You can get really good food in this little town. And a lot of our friends and people we meet who are visiting here or transplanted here are astounded at how good the restaurants are for such a small populated area. So I think we're lucky that way. Of course, we have great natural resources in the seafood. That helps.
So you live on the plantation. What do you call it now? It's no longer the plantation.
We still call it the plantation.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
That's okay.
It's a gorgeous place, as we know, and a wonderful example on how to work with the natural environment when developing a neighborhood.
It won awards for that.
And a resort.
Yeah.
So was it your photography and your interest in nature that drew you to that neighborhood?
Partly, natural beauty, certainly. And also, I was involved, when I was in high school, I actually had a summer job working with the developers at the plantation, the Sea Pines Corporation from South Carolina. And so I got involved with that very early on. So I have always had appreciation for, we'll call it urban design, but planning a living place in nature. It's really wonderful. But Deb and I decided we wanted a newer, smaller house, so we moved out. We are off island now at Amelia National. And we're loving it out there too.
No matter where we are in this area, on island or off, it's just so gorgeous. And Stan, you have captured that in so many ways, and we have just a fraction of your work here in this room. But where did that begin? When did you get your first camera? When did all of this start?
I have little slides I'll click through as we talk. I really became aware of the art of photography when I was in high school. And one particular teacher he was a history teacher, Phil Mayberry, but he taught a photography class as well. And so this is me with my first camera. That is a beloved Canon FTB. Yes, it shoots film. It exposes on film. And I shot a photo of myself out of my friend's Jeep on the beach. But I took that old FTB and I would roam around Fernandina and just grab these shots of things. This is when the depot was actually a depot. Of course, shrimping was a thing, it was a business. So I grabbed some shots of that.
Are these from back then?
Yes, they are. Yeah, these were from way back then. I know, it was all in black and white, so I added color. No. way back. And then, of course, the ubiquitous Center Street shot, way back. And then, of course, I moved away to go to Gainesville to learn something. Didn't work. And this is Homecoming, Gator Growl. I actually was involved in communications, and I directed Gator Growl television coverage. And this is a shot from the booth of what I call the Deathmobile in Gainesville. So these are the things I chose to photograph. And then I was involved in a documentary about Iron Annie, which is the plane in the middle. And I shot this on 16 millimeter motion film, but I also had my camera. It was a different camera then. So I took some stills as well. And this is one of the shots of they would fly in an air show and recreate air battles. It was kind of cool. And this is a T-6 trainer up close. Great planes. And so then I after college, I started traveling and just shooting things that caught my attention. And I thought this was pretty good. And this is
wait a minute.
Yeah.
What was that?
This is an old derelict building in, I think this is in Iowa. And it was just this funky old little town we were going through. And I said, wait a minute, I got to stop and shoot that. So I did. And they were fresh out. I didn't get any. And this is Lido Key on the west coast of Florida in St. Armands. And then I traveled a little further away to Los Angeles. This is from Mulholland Drive. And this is Monterey, California. This is Cannery Row that you've probably read about. And these are all film photographs. Isn't that cool? This is the narrow gauge railroad in Durango, Colorado. And Deb and I were actually on the train. The train is so long. I was on the train when I took the photo, you could see. And, of course, the red rocks of Arizona. And then traveling a little further, same camera. This is the Canon AE1. This is we were talking about earlier about the Italian Riviera, and the music that was playing is Italian Riviera music. This is Genoa in the Italian Riviera, the twin boats. And, of course, you probably recognize this in Rome. And there's a sweet little town in Tuscany called San Gimignano, where I took some of these shots. And the little girl, I call it Girl Underbrella. And this was Sunday after church and rain, and she was hiding behind her umbrella stalk. The weird American guy taking her picture. I did ask her parents. And so all of this, it began in high school and has just really transgressed forward. Meeting Deb in Chicago, I also met my mentor and photographer, her dad, Lynn Massenio. And I think they're going to be here tonight. They're at another event. Meaning Dad and his posse at Lakeside.
He would really like this part, Stan.
He would, yeah.
He would really
And so,
gonna miss it.
But Dad would take me with him out into nature, and that's when I really understood what being in nature was about, and understood the beauty of it and how it makes you feel. This is a photo I took of him while we were out at Okefenokee one time. He came down to visit. So this is Okefenokee Swamp Park. So that's my mentor.
So it was communications at the University of Florida that you studied?
It was electrical engineering.
Oh.
And then in my spare time, journalism and communications.
Boy, that all ties together today, doesn't it?
Little did I know.
Technology and communication. Yeah. So you're, in many ways, such an example of how to take a passion, the creative side of photography, and make a life and make a living. Yeah. So Cottle Communications.
Yes, Cottle Communications.
How did you wrap all of these interests into a business?
Well, this is when Deb and I met in Chicago. We met at a production company, television production, and then I went on my own and started Cottle Communications, and then she joined me a little later, and so this was our the local press of the day. And our son Connor looks not unlike that now. So, but it was interesting because I came to Chicago to take a job as a director, a film director, and that was my background: motion film and still film, and some television. So I directed the news show when I was in college and things like that. But I really loved film. And so they brought me to Chicago, this company, to do all of their film projects. And this was at a time where video was really coming on strong in terms of budgets. You know, for economic reasons, video was being embraced. The only problem was it looked terrible. The quality of video was nothing like it is now. So I was the guy that came in and did the pretty stuff on film with all the good budgets. So that worked out well. And so Deb, we met, and she became my rep for all intents and purposes. She got me the gigs. And here's an example. Yes, still does.
Wow, that's impressive.
So
Look
these
at those
are
names.
these are some of the names we started working with in Chicago. And actually, I had a brief stint in Atlanta where I picked up some of these, but still work with some of them, and you'll see some familiar names too. So some of the people we work with here as well. And so you talk about integrating photography and film or video. Doing these projects at the beginning, I was not the cameraman. I would always hire a director of photography, or I would hire a set photographer. Even though I had a camera or two and I loved it, I did all the other stuff that directors have to do, right? And I sort of produced a lot of things too, so it was really time consuming. But eventually, I just really migrated toward being behind the lens. And that's where the fun really started. And really, I felt like I could tell the whole story then for the first time. Although I love collaborating, and it's really wonderful to have an idea in your head and you're trying to explain it to everybody on the crew, especially the director of photography, the cameraman, and have it come out, and it comes out not how you saw in your head, but it came out really, really good. But then when you are the guy behind the camera and the idea's in your head, it comes out a lot closer to what you saw, which is sometimes good too, but certainly enjoyable.
So Cottle Communications is still going.
Mm-hmm.
You still get gigs.
Yes, I do.
What brings you joy?
Wow, that's a good question. Well, this is a little word puzzle about all the things that Cottle Communications does, and you'll see photography is a big thing in there, and video is a big thing. I also love the process of editing, and that I'm getting to the joy. Once I do all those things, it all ends up being edited in some way, right? Whether it's a photograph or a series of photographs or a film, a video. When the joy comes from when I'm done with it, because sometimes I hate it during the process, I got to be honest. But when it's done and it fulfills its purpose, it reaches the audience, it makes the client happy, that's the joy, right? And the best part, the most joyful example is when all of that happens, but it's what I want it to do, right? So now I'm lucky enough to be at a point in my career where I only choose things that I think I'm going to enjoy doing. Do it for the right reasons, do it for the right creative opportunity, and so forth.
I think that's one of the benefits of getting older.
It is.
Isn't it? You get to choose.
You get to choose.
So now when you are out seeing beautiful things, being inspired, how has it changed with technology over the years? Because in your field, right, almost every year there's a change. There has been a change all these decades.
Yeah, and I think technology is a key part of video and film, motion work, communications work. And so I'm very much involved in technology. I have to be. Art photography, on the other hand, is where you have a lot more freedom. And you can choose to use technology or not. And so, again, it all comes down to being inspired to capture something, to tell a story visually about something, So you have this vision in your mind about what you want to capture and show to people. And then you go through the process of capturing it and showing it. And so the technology initially comes in the form of, say, a camera. Yeah, you have to have a camera to take a picture. And then so you deal with that technology. But my view on that is a camera is simply a tool. As Ansel Adams, famous photographer, said, people take photographs, not cameras. So I want to use the technology of cameras just to get me to the point where it becomes transparent to help me get my vision onto an image, right? And then with art photography, that all of that gets even deeper because you're totally on your own in terms of what you choose to visualize. You have a concept of something you want to share, make a visual image of, and then you go through that process of capturing the image and processing it and showing it, just like I used to do for commercial stuff. And so the technology there, again, is there's a camera involved, but then there's also what we call post-production. And so you use editing tools to manipulate what you captured to form it more into what you saw before you captured it, your vision of that piece. And so, again, the technology, I hope I use technology just as a tool to get to that image that I want, to fulfill that vision that I had, and nothing more. So I don't use, and we'll get into this in a minute, but I don't use technology to create things that I didn't capture. I only use it to enhance what I did capture.
So let's talk about the storm, the nor'easter. Do you notice here that when we have really bad weather, there are a bunch of people who go to the beach? They're like the storm chasers, I guess, in the Midwest. But we have the storm chasers here. They all go to the ocean, and it looks like you did as well. Over by the speaker, which is near the door off here on the left side of the stage for the audience, is a really interesting, energetic piece taken during a nor'easter, right, Stan?
Yes.
Talk some about that photo, when you took it, and the technology.
Can everyone see that? I think I may be able to call that up on the screen here. Hold on. So I was actually on a commercial shoot with a variety of cameras, one of which was a flying one, a drone. And this nor'easter was happening. We were at the beach, actually. Yeah, on the island, south end. This is by the sanctuary. And so usually you don't fly drones in storms over water. But I figured, why not? So I did, and I flew it around and wrestled with it in the high winds. And I saw on the screen this crazy view of the ocean. I'm going, wow, the ocean is really turned up today. It really looks cool. So I pointed the lens of the drone straight down. It's called bird's eye. And the beauty of the drone is, even though the wind was like 40 miles an hour, if you let go of the controls, it kind of stays still. It's sort of, it doesn't move as much. So on the screen, it looked really stable. So I snapped a still photo of a bird's eye view of the storm with the surf breaking onto the shore. And you can see the water in the bottom part of the frame. It looks like it's stone. This is almost an abstract. Some people have looked at this and go, what is it? And so the water was so churned up, and the shutter speed of this camera was so fast that it freezes all the motion. So the water looks like stone. The foam looks like lace. And you can see up top where the foam and the sand, like the breakers, are hitting the sand. There's a very fine edge of the foam that kind of curls, if you've seen that walking on the beach. It looks like a border. And it just knocks me out. But that is a stormy day.
And that's a piece of art the story behind it is so interesting, as is these flying cameras. Mm-hmm. I guess the word drone feels different now, doesn't it? So it's
it does.
Let's just call it a flying camera.
It's a flying camera. That's more fun. It's more innocent.
When I saw this, though, Stan, I remembered being at a bookstore gig in winter in Superior, Wisconsin, which is at the Canadian border, and the waves froze. So I had to look a second time because my first thought was that memory was a frozen wave. But it shows that no matter where you are, there's beauty.
That's right.
And it might be in good weather, it might be in stormy weather, but it's interesting.
And the thing I wanted to go back to that about is instinct. Once you do things enough and you're passionate about doing things and you do that over and over because you enjoy it, you learn, you get past the tools, and you learn to get the little aha. Like I didn't fly the drone to go make art that day. I kind of flew it just to see if I could. And so, but when I was looking at the monitor and this crazy drone's bouncing around and up there, and I saw a glimpse of something, I said, aha. So then I was able to capture. I didn't go out to shoot that shot. I didn't know that shot existed. But when I saw a glimmer of it, I said, that's it. And so when you're doing something you love and you're in that moment, you get those ahas.
I love it because you photographers notice. How many of us would have been on that boat or on that project and may not have seen it? So I think it's lovely to hear artists talk about seeing it. And I hope and I wish for all of us to see it, to see that beauty. Well, so you want to show us a flying camera?
Yeah, let's fly a camera.
I think the insurance policy is up to date. You're safe, by the way.
But one thing about the ahas, and this I learned from my mentor, Lynn Massenio, who's right there, is when you get out in nature, you relax, and you kind of relax into being there. I'm trying to get this to turn on. There it goes. If you're relaxed in nature, you get the ahas. You start to see things that normally you wouldn't see. We call this the baby drone. So this tiny. This one on the left, the Inspire, is huge. The one in the middle is sort of the mid-size, but very, very, very good. This little guy I bought to shoot indoors. It's kind of what it's one of those things that's good for me.
When you say huge, I see the Inspire. How huge is huge?
It wouldn't sit on this table. It's probably maybe 4 feet, 3.5, 4 feet square. And it's a flying blender. It has blades about that long, 4 of them. And I would never try to launch it in this room, especially with people in it. But I did fly it indoors a few times. We did I filmed a conference in a ballroom actually here at the Ritz. And I was standing way back in the corner, and no one was in the room. It was when they were setting it up. They had all these booths and stuff. And so we wanted a nice float over the room to show all the stuff, right? I got this thing going, and I'm flying very carefully, and I'm going over these booths, and then you see papers fly. I mean, the rotor wash from this thing was blowing all the stuff they set up very carefully. I said, woohoo! And it went right down the aisle. Anyway. But I used that same drone. We did a flash mob dance for Coca-Cola in Indiana in a gym. And the flash mob the audience was maybe 1,000 people, probably, and a flash mob of about 75 people dancing on the basketball court. And I filmed that with the drone and some other, lockdown cameras. But that was kind of, I was nervous to fly that big old thing over these people. And it worked out pretty well. When you fly indoors with a drone, you can't use any of the satellite control devices. It has to be fully manual because you can't get to the satellites reliably. And if it's not reliable, it gets erratic and people die. So you don't get that. So I'm flying manually. I'm flying in this big gym, and they have these big round air vents. And I'm flying along manually, and I go under an air vent, not thinking, and the drone starts going down over the people. I go, what's going on? Because the wind from the air vent was blowing it down.
Pilot, you're a pilot.
Yeah, it was fun. All right, so this one, it has little bumpers. It has propellers. Little bumpers, so you can bounce off the stuff. It's really good.
Well, that's good.
It has a camera. And I'm gonna not fly it over your head. Donna,
Your helmet's full.
well, in the rehearsal, she had a hard hat. Do you want to wear it?
Stan, can we set this up Come fly with me. Yeah, fly away.
Okay. That's good. There we go. Baby drone.
Oh, I can feel it.
Yeah, this is just a baby.
It's the sound of the wind, I guess.
That's the four little props going really fast. So now I'm on the count of three. I want everyone to look up and wave. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Yay! So you can just slide around. Then you can turn around and go this way. And that's our baby drone. And it has an amazingly good little camera on it.
And you look like a kid in Christmas.
I do enjoy it. Baby drone.
I think like in the year 2070, they'll look at this video and say, "Oh, they were so fascinated by it that the technology will probably zoom million miles from here." So when this little flying camera is out there, what are you seeing that on your computer, on your phone?
So the baby drone is fairly simple in the world of drones. You can fly it in two ways. You can fly it simply out of the palm of your hand, and it has little presets. It talks to you, and it has little presets, and you can just launch it with no controller, and it'll either follow you if you tell it to, or it'll lead you, or it'll fly circles around you wherever you want it to do. That's the easiest way or simplest way, but you can't control it. And then the second easiest way is you can fly it with your phone, just holding your phone in your hand. That's my phone. And it has controls, an app on the phone that you can fly. You know, it has the little joystick things. But if you really want to control it and try to do something professional with it, you need a controller like this. And then my phone is the monitor. And it shows me the picture and all the telemetry and the settings of the camera and everything. And you can record and stop recording and all that. You do. 2 hands and no beer. So, but the baby drone's fun because, you know, we fly it in homes mostly for real estate stuff and for a few other things. But I've actually flown it outside. The pictures are wonderful. The little tiny camera makes a very, very high resolution picture. So it's good as any. These you can't get them now, but there's a lot of reasons why, but you can't get them in the United States right now. But this whole thing with the controller is maybe $500. This one's about $4,500. And the one in the middle, I think, is just under 2,000 maybe. But the baby drone, you know. Well, they're made in China, and there's a group of people in our country, in our government, that doesn't want things from China flying around in our country. So it's in flux. But I bought this here, and I just can't buy it now. But I think you'll be able to soon enough.
So there was no inappropriate conversation taking place when that flying camera was going on in this room, for sure. And it wouldn't matter because we're an independent bookstore, so
That's right.
we claim First Amendment rights here.
Well, I have a brief story about that.
Yes.
Try to be brief. The big one, the big drone that was up here, it's called the Inspire. I learned early on, I have 2 of those. The first one I learned early on, it doesn't float. I crashed it into a lake, and I won't go into why or how, but I didn't think I did anything wrong. Couldn't have been me. So I communicated with the maker, DJI, and I said, "Look, this thing went in the water. What the hell?" And so the problem with the people in our government who are suspicious is they claim that these drones send information out about I don't know what to who. And so they're nervous that it does that. Well, I can tell you it doesn't, because when I called the company and said, look, this thing went in the water and I think there's a problem with it. They said, well, how do we help? I said, I don't know. Just tell me what went wrong. And they said, well, we don't have any of your information. So you have to send me the information out of the controller. You have to download the flight telemetry data. And I had to download it and send it off to them. And they analyzed it, and they gave me a whole new everything for, like, shipping. So that's how I have two. And so that tells you that they're not getting any information from these things. So anyway.
We like to fear things.
True.
So how fascinating. So can we talk about some of the other pieces?
Oh, sure.
Because you use all kinds of creative tools. The photograph that you brought, the framed, the photo on canvas, the blue, that looks like water.
It is water.
Tell us about that shot.
This is a swimming pool at the Ocean Club on a very nice sunny day. And at the Ocean Club, the pool is one big pool. It kind of winds around. You can walk out on this masonry thing to get out sort of over the water. And I thought, wow, the light dappling on the pool from the sun, that's pretty cool. So I had my cell phone, and I just reached out with my phone facing down and snapped this. So that's a pool.
And is this a plantation shot? Is that one of the...
This is Drummond Point Park, one of my favorite places. And this... Actually, this won Landscape Photo of the Year for Florida Wildlife Federation last fall. Thank you.
Congratulations. It's a beautiful photo.
Thank
and it's
you.
a reminder how beautiful this part of Florida is.
It is.
And how different we are from South Florida.
Yes.
Right? And who would have imagined that the marsh, what some people might call swamp, is really so alive and so beautiful. Do you want to talk about some of the other photos that you have here?
Yes. Well, I tried to capture things around us. So Fernandina, there's some Fernandina images in the back. There's a lighthouse shot that I shot with the drone, the middle drone, actually. There's this classic shot of our courthouse back there, which I love. That was on a cover of a magazine and featured in a newsletter for 1,000 Friends of Florida. It's interesting. I wouldn't call myself a conservationist, but a lot of conservation organizations either come to me and I do marketing for them or want my photography. And so I love that.
They're beautiful. Okay, who's got a question for Stan?
Bonnie?
You talked about this a little bit already, but what can you say, talk about what inspires you and makes you want to take a picture? What inspires you about a subject and a moment?
Okay. I think it all goes, I get inspired by a lot of different things, but my whole thing is about beauty. I feel like the purpose behind my being a visual artist, especially a photographer, is I want to capture what I perceive to be beautiful and share it with as many people as possible so they live a little bit better having seen beauty. That's it.
Love it. So the moment.
It's
in a moment? Or in something you planned? Both?
It's both. Sometimes you plan. Well, let's take this boardwalk shot. It was planned because I wanted to show this other photographer this beautiful setting, right? I was not intending to take photos that day. It was really for him. But I just had my camera out, no tripod, just in case. And so when I saw it, the light was perfect. It was the absolute right time of day. I could have planned it and really thought it out, but I didn't. I just happened to I was lucky. I was there. It was right, and I took it. A God wink. Yes, absolutely. This was late morning. It's probably about 10 a.m. And it was you could see there's some thin clouds, like a thin cloud overlay is my favorite. I love blue sky, but I don't like the harshness of sun. So lower angle, morning time, thin overlay. Perfect. You had a question, sir. I have 3 different cameras that I use that are still cameras, and I have 3 different lenses, 4 different lenses. So what I try to do in a kit, if you call it, a kit, like I have a case. This case has the cameras back there. This is a mirrorless camera made by Lumix, and I have 3 lenses, and I have a lens. I try to cover the full range of useful telephoto to wide angle, useful focal lengths of lenses, and I like to overlap them. So I have a 16 to 35, I have a 35 to 70, and I have a 70 to 200. And depending on what you're trying to shoot, you put whichever one of that range you want, and they all have zoom, so you can adjust within that focal length range. Does that make sense? Yeah. Good question. Yes?
How many shots did you take when you were in that?
That's the only shot.
Only shot.
That's the only shot I took of that setting that day.
Okay, that's it.
Isn't that hilarious? Sometimes, yeah. But often I shoot a ton of things and have to pick them, and that's, yeah. Yes, ma'am. For photography, I use Photoshop primarily. And sometimes Lightroom, but I'm a Photoshop person. Yeah. Yes, Liz.
What are your thoughts on AI?
Oh,
How, if you do, how do you incorporate it in your work?
okay, that's a great question. Donna had that question. I don't know if we answered. This picture over Donna is the finished version of a photograph, and this is the with the hood up in Photoshop. And the way I use AI is I use it to augment what I captured or fix it when I screw it up. I don't add things that I didn't shoot. That's just one of my rules. So in this case, I'm using AI. This is the Photoshop desktop. And I had this shot. This is my friend Walter with a fresh catch. And this is at Walker's Landing at high tide. Now, I was there shooting the mirrorless camera, the little one back there. I was shooting video of the marsh, right? And I'm standing right by the railing, so I don't see the railing in my footage, right? I'm just shooting the water in the beautiful marsh. And I hear a flutter to my left, and I wheel around and see this guy flying by. So, of course, I shoot pictures, but he's moving, and I'm moving. So when I got back and looked at all the different, and this I shot about 60 frames of that. I picked this frame, but he, Walter, was not crisp and fully focused, right? But I loved everything about it, especially the fish. And what happened I did happen to have autofocus on, which I usually don't use, but I did have it on. I was lucky. His head, his eyeball, and the fish, and his head and neck were focused, but all of his feathers were not. So I go into AI and I say, AI, I've got this problem. I got this bird, and part of it is not in focus, and he's moving. Fix it. It's called enhance. And so it selects the bird, and it enhances. I can enhance edges. This was edge enhance. That's what it was doing right here. So all the edges of his body and his feathers especially are more well-defined than they really were. And then I can play with the focus inside the selected area, and I can play with things like contrast and light. And my goal was to separate him from the background more, because he's sort of the same value as the clouds and the reflections. So I had AI help me just really accentuate him more in the image. That's how I use AI. Sometimes I will use AI to replace the sky. If I don't like the sky in a shot, I'll put a different sky in. Sometimes, most of the time, skies that I shoot, sometimes from a stock library of skies.
So I'm kind of curious. The box has the marsh grass and the water and the sky and the bird.
Mm-hmm.
AI knows what a bird is versus
It does.
Don't mess with the grass behind.
No, that's a great
don't know
point.
much about AI.
This little box is just the selection area that I'm telling AI to think about, and then I tell it bird, and it says, oh, this is a bird, and it selects that within this. It doesn't have to think about all this. It has to look for a bird just inside this square. I said, there's a bird. Stan, bird.
It's fascinating, isn't it? It is. It's fascinating. Okay, who else has a question?
I think Mr. Messenio may have a question.
Tanya, what is your current experience photographing with your phone as opposed to photographing with your normal lenses, the camera?
Great question.
Starting to replace some of that?
Some famous person, I can't remember who, said, the best camera you own is the one with you at the time. And so I use my phone increasingly more often. And there's two reasons why. It's with me all the time, and it's really, really good. I mean, technically, the iPhone especially has come so far in terms of camera's capability, in terms of the resolution that it captures in. It's called pixels. It's a 48 megapixel image, which is the same as that camera back there. And it has amazingly capable autofocus. It's a very handy device. So I use it more and more. I'm trying to figure out in the room, which did I shoot with my phone? The courthouse was shot with my phone. The sunrise over the boardwalk at Peters Point up there, shot with the phone. That may be it for phones.
And you also do some of the things
Well, of course.
enhancements with phone, so it's not.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm taking a picture. Your winner.
No, that's a good point. I never. No, thanks, Deb. But no, to that point, I never shoot a photo and then say, there it is. It's just a starting point. The capture, it's going back to technology. The capture of the image is the starting point, but then you have to go through the post-production to get it closer to what I had in my mind when I wanted to take that picture. So it's a process of working through to get it to the finished point. And honestly, that's what makes an art photographer is how they choose, first of all, what they see. Absolutely, upfront, what their mind's eye sees establishes their style, right? But more and more these days, how they process the capture of what they're trying to visualize into the final is style. I have a certain style to the work I do, by and large, as does another photographer, different style, same concept. Now, there is someone in this room, however, who has spent many years creating visually impressive photographs that were shot on slide film and printed, and they're art. Len Messenio.
Yay, Len. Okay, one more question, and then we'll break.
Yes, Dawn.
I
Mm-hmm.
but I've seen some other people. They made the bad rule.
You know, I would love to do an exhibit on Italy because I've got lots of photos from Italy, and it's a magical place, just like Amelia. It is. So yeah, I'd like to do that. Maybe if you know someone who has a space, to exhibit work in, we could work something out. Yeah. There you go.
Or maybe we could choose wine and cheese from Italy and have some photos up on the stage.
I love that.
A program and just enjoy Italy for the night. Maybe we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, Bonnie, you have another question.
Early on, you spoke about the difference. You as restaurant, your producer, editor. I'm sure there are other elements that come into doing this type of work. Could you tell about the difference between those two?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's see. A producer is someone who is really good at pulling all of the elements together, and we call it herding cats. I mean, elements are mostly people and then some things, but it's keeping all that together and trying to make it fit in a budget and on a schedule, that's producing. It's maddening. There are some people who are really, really good at it. I hold my own, I guess. A director, and I'm going to talk about, this is in motion film, right? Motion film or video. A director is that person with the vision, right? It's going back to that thing you have in your mind's eye, the thing you see. The director's job is to translate what their vision is of this project and meet the needs of a client often, in my experience, to get everybody else involved, from the lighting crew to the camera crew to the actors and the casting and everything, to understand it and contribute their art to the creation of that. So the finished film that we've created together it starts with the director's vision, and the job of the director is really to guide that vision through the process of making it, including editing.
The director kind of before the producer.
Yes. Yeah. The director depends on a producer.
Okay.
But the idea comes from director,
Okay.
through script, through visuals, through editing, through sound, to finish something. And it's always, again, that collaborative process is fabulous, because it's not exactly what I saw in my head when I wanted to start this. It's better, right? That's joy. That's the joy of that process. And then what was the other one we talked about? Producer, director, editor. Yeah. A lot of magic happens in editing too. Yeah, I've been amazed more than once how an editor took what I thought would be a scene that would play this way and completely change it and make it better. That's their gift, right? Sure.
This has been lovely.
I've had fun.
Thank you, Stan. And thank you all for coming. So we're going to bring the lights up, and there's more to eat and drink. And I can thank Susan Levy, who is our bistro manager. She did the food tonight, and we're so grateful to her. She had a crazy day on top of it. So this is called the Artist Studio, and every time we change the exhibit at Story and Song, we schedule one of these on-stage conversations, because it was our feeling that we celebrate the arts of all different kinds, but we would just put up art. We would just put the art up. We never had conversations with the artist. So what's it about? So we so appreciate you opening your world, Stan. It's fascinating, and we're so happy to have your pieces here. Walk around, have a glass of wine, enjoy the food and the art, and Stan will be here for questions, and Deb will be here for bookings.
And in a final note, I would like to speak for everyone in this room to thank Donna and Mark for creating this community center.
It's our joy. It's our joy. And next up will be Phil Levy, who has moved here from Maryland. So we're going to learn about taking photography and making art from photography. So there'll be a different conversation then. So enjoy the rest of the evening. Thanks for being here. Happy spring. Be careful. We're painting the exterior. So I think the contractors are working on this side of the room now. So it's a perfect time to just have another glass of wine. Good night.